take me through a working week. I'll start with a Monday. Monday's apology day, right? Is that when the emails go in and it's like, we're sorry that this happened?
Which way?
Either way. Take me through a working week of, let's go a test match. And maybe we can start with there and then go through the amount of work that gets put in. So test match has already been played, not week 1. Let's go week 2. So a game's already happened. People are raging at the referees. What's the interaction like? Do the referees send in clips? Vice versa, the coaches sending clips?
Well, first of all, obviously with a test match, you're going to be dealing with a referee and probably 2 assistants and a TMO, possibly from 4 different unions. So you're unless you're moving on to a test match the following week, you're probably not going to be all together in the same room, or unless you get to debrief the next day if everybody has late flights, which is the ideal, which is what we want to do. But it doesn't always transpire like that. So, say in my case, what I would do is I'd watch the game probably on the Sunday if the game was on the Saturday. I'd review it, big moments, not really detailed, but I go through the big moments, and then my coach will have sent me his thoughts on the game, which would be really, really detailed, and I'll probably cross-reference between what I've seen and what my coach has done, and myself and my coach will sit down on 9 o'clock Monday morning and we'll go through the game for about 2 hours with both our notes in front of us, and that's essentially that's the real review done. After that, then I'll contact my team. They'll have sent me their notes. This is assuming I'm the referee. They'll have sent me their notes. Again, I'll put them into cross-reference them against what we've done that morning, and I'll speak to all of them on that afternoon. And then what we have to do for test matches is we have to write up our review. So what World Rugby like to do is they have a triptych, which is speed, which is about the breakdown, space, which is about offsides, and safety, which is about foul play. So they're the 3 main areas, and then you add on the 2 set pieces, line out, maul, and scrum. So you write up a review of each. There's a platform where we can do this, at which everybody can see who's involved in the referees and the officials. So we write up a review, which is very detailed, timelines, and then probably there's 4 selectors, so we'll have that review as such with them in terms of our performance. So how our performance is rated. So we'll do that on the Tuesday morning, maybe any time after Monday. Could be Tuesday morning, could be Tuesday, but we like to get it done before Wednesday. And so we'll come to agreements on different clips, and essentially they'll rate your performance. And we'll do that as a team on Zoom, which is one of the good things that's came out of COVID, that we kind of do these things together on Zoom. And that can be intense. If the game didn't go well, it's hard to sit in that room and kind of be told that you didn't ref well. But that's part of it, and we've got to learn from that, and maybe you're dropped for the next game, or maybe you ref really well, and it's it's a nice experience. And then
just on the rating, so is it out of 10? Like, how is it? Just old school, out of 10, or good, bad, indifferent?
What they do initially is they'll go through all your penalties and they'll give you right or wrong, and then they'll do a list of non-decisions, things that we didn't pick up in the game. So that kind of goes into a matrix where you can see your percentage of accuracy. So that kind of forms a part of it.
What's a good percentage, just for the listeners?
I think in World Rugby you'd want to be over 90%.
Really?
Accuracy,
okay, so it's high.
No, it is high. Yeah, we would hold ourselves to quite high standards, and even that, you'd be very disappointed if you're below 90. And you'd have that then, in scrums and lineouts as well. And then essentially the reviewer will write up your performance in the box, and everybody will see how you got on. They don't really do it out of 10. They'll just say whether it was a good performance, an average performance, poor performance, and it's
every week.
That's the high end of World Rugby, but as it filters through the competition, it's very similar. And then in fairness, what we do really well is we meet on a group, obviously through Zoom, all the World Rugby referees at a time that suits everybody in both hemispheres, and they review each game. That, say, for the Six Nations, they review 3 games on the Wednesday, and they go through all the big moments and make sure that we're all aligned on the same page. So it's an intensive few days. And
but that Monday is.
That Monday is very intensive. Yeah, you like, because you're so drained from the game anyway, and you get to the stage by Tuesday where you've watched the game 3 or 4 times, and you're like, and you've had comments from outside. There's big decisions, kind of everybody's asking you about it. So,
and the coach is coming at that point, because I know there is that.
The coaches. We're slightly removed from the coaches after the match, so they'll send stuff to the selectors, and then if the selectors think it's relevant, they'll pass it on to us. which they do most of the time, because in fairness to coaches, they're very good at picking out stuff that's important and pertinent to the performance. And then we're asked to respond in kind.
You have to respond, because Kieran Crowley mentioned that during the Six Nations there was an apology. Would that have been directly from a ref, or is that from the assessor, or is that from World Rugby?
Generally, I'm not sure what you're talking about there, but very, very little there'd be apologies. Well, what it would be...
Yes, you're right.
The coach would send something and it would be clear that we're wrong, and we just got to go, yeah, you're right, we're wrong. There's not much else you can say. But then he might send a clip that's 50-50 and you say, oh, well, this is why I went this way instead of that way. And they might come back and say, yeah, I understand that. But I suppose I understand the frustration from a coach when he gets a message back saying, yeah, we're wrong, but there's not much else you can do. But they have to understand that we feel the repercussions of that through our selection.
Necessary from them, but exhausting, I imagine. When
exhausting, but it's not always exhausting. We don't ref bad every week.
Yeah. So that's Monday. You've done no training.
I know that's Monday and Tuesday. I train on a Tuesday afternoon. Really lucky with our employers in the IRFU. They have S&C guys in place for all of us. So I've a program I follow with him on a Tuesday, which would be, weights, prehab. The big
weights,
I know.
Leg weights.
But the thing for me, particularly, I'm 39 now, is injury prevention. You don't want to get on the pitch and get injured. It's embarrassing as a referee to get injured.
You very rarely see it now as well.
You very rarely see it, but we put a lot of work in the background, and then you do a running session on that day, probably conditioning, and then Thursday you do a gym session, and you probably do a speed session. Obviously, the conditioning and speed are much more relevant to the game. But the
what kind of stuff? Just specifically, so on a Tuesday you'll run in the afternoon.
Yeah.
How far?
Well, it'll be like a conditioning session. So it'll be tempo runs, or like something akin to interval running. Like we test ourselves on the Bronco test, same as the players. So we'd have to train for that. But it's probably a good test to use to get you in shape for a game. It's kind of relevant in terms of the turning and the distance you run. So referees are pretty fit at the moment.
They look good as well.
Yeah,
they are. They're in some good shape. Like I saw Luke after the Ireland game. Even Jaco Pieper looked good. Nick Berry.
Yeah, well, Nick's one of the Adonises, but yeah.
Is he? Well, I don't know why he looks that way.
He's in shape. But,
he's got tinted moisturiser, definitely.
I'm not sure.
No?
I'm not sure. He's living down in Australia.
Oh, he is, yeah. I think he's got a cultural mix inside him.
But we're tested, so we have to stay fit. It's part of the selection. It's actually part of... it's a selection tool. So 10% of our selection is based on how well conditioned we are. And we've hit certain targets. There's World Rugby. I've employed a S&C coach from Ireland called Carl Gilligan who runs all that and runs it really well. So we're held to account in terms of our fitness levels. I think we should be. We're refereeing a professional game. We should look the part. We should be able to keep up with play.
Well, I listen to the ref mic now because I love rugby.
Yeah,
I love that interaction, especially when you're in the stadium.
Yeah,
because again for my job, but it also gives you much more depth to the game, and you can hear the referees who are out of breath, and there's not many of them. And I'm watching it. I'm like, fair play.
Yeah.
Not only do they look good, a lot better now, and tighter tops and all that stuff, and bigger arms, but the conditioning side of things, you can hear that. Okay, right. So it's Wednesday. Did you get a day off or not?
Day off. We try to take Wednesday off.
Okay, so Wednesday's off. And Thursday,
you're into prepping for the weekend. You will definitely have received clips from the coaches you're refereeing that weekend, whether it's international or domestic or
about the opposition. Look at this.
It can be a bit of both. It can be a bit of both. I think if they send clips about the opposition to us, they're then sent on to the opposition, which I think is right.
Of course. What kind of things could they be? Would they be like scrum? Would they be like offside, charge downs? Yeah. Okay, everything.
In fairness, they try to pick up trends that are relevant. They're not trying to. They're just trying to pick up things that will help them that they don't think is fair that the other team are doing. And there's teams are always going to try things, so it kind of helps us. It helps our prep because we're like, oh yeah, well, we know they do that, but that reaffirms it, and we'll talk to the other team and say you can't quite do that. And everybody understands the process. Sometimes it's a bit tit for tat. They just send in things for the sake of it. I find that sometimes they don't. Coaches kind of forget that we do a lot of previewing for the games ourselves. But I get it as well because they're only covering their own backs. They want to make sure that they have all angles covered. And some of the coaches are just workaholics. So I don't think it's not that you don't trust us. They just want to cover every angle. But yeah, we'll get that on a Thursday, and we'll have to get together with our team probably on a Thursday, whether it's locally or through Zoom, and just go through a few key points that we want to do well that week. And then Friday is usually a travel day.
Haircut day.
Possibly. But that'd have to be booked in.
Yeah.
So depends if it's a big game or not. And then we travel, and you probably have a meeting that Friday, but the work is done on the Thursday with your team, and it really helps. And it's probably something where we aren't on the same. It's not that I'm trying to the right word for it, but in the URC we don't have the same structures in other leagues. We have to travel a lot. We don't use the same ARs every week. It's a brilliant competition because there's 5 countries, but that means that we have to travel and work with people sometimes who don't speak the same language as us. So that's kind of a challenge for us at our own kind of domestic level. But usually we'll have to put a bit more work in if that's the case, and make more of an effort, call people individually, and try set up how you want the game to be run and what roles you want your assistants to be doing. But that's part of it.
Proper job then, is it?
It's full on.
Yeah.
It's full on.
Yeah.
It really is. It keeps you going. This Six Nations has been kind of funny because they've selected the 15 referees for 15 games with a view to appointing to the World Cup. But what it's meant is that very few people have been out every weekend, even assistant referees. There's only a handful of assistant referees who've even been out twice. So I happened to be assistant referee in the first round. Had nothing since. So I haven't known myself. I've had 4 weeks off, and I'm like, what's going on?
How was your assessment of that one? Was it all right? How was...
I didn't ref it, but Andy ref very well.
Do you not get assessed as they touch you?
You get as a team.
As a team.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but you do individually as an area. Your name is up there if you make an error. The fairness, the referee doesn't have to take responsibility for that, which would be harsh.
Yeah, see, it's brutal when you put it like that, and some people will be like, well, yeah, that's how it should be. But this Six Nations is an interesting one, isn't it? Because you've just said it there. There's like an assessment process going into the World Cup. So if you've made a big call, it'd be interesting to see if Yako it goes. I don't. That's a different call, isn't it? Because it's such a big call, player safety. We've gone through that, but when will you find out? Like, when do people know whether they're going in? Will that be based on the assessments and grading and how they've done in the Six Nations? Yeah.
Well, for me, I found out that I wouldn't be going as a referee before the Six Nations. So I got down to the last. What do they have now? The 15. I got down to the last 17. 2 of us were cut before the Six Nations, and in the right way. The selectors rang us and gave us their reasons. They didn't shy away from it. They were very open and honest. I was really I was disappointed. I thought I did enough to get a game designation, but it's like anything, Jim. Like we've done it so much in the past as players. I probably very proud of the way I conducted myself up to that point because I think I did enough to get selected, but I fell out on the subjectiveness of, the way they select is they've got some sort of pie chart where it's 10% fitness, 10% law knowledge, it's something like 40% performance in the games, and then they give themselves about 30% subjective. And I get that because they're selectors, they want to bring the people they trust. And in my case, unfortunately, I probably didn't have enough games under my belt. I had done 2 internationals leading into it, and they just thought, you've done well, but have we seen enough of you? That's disappointing because I know I've done well, but that was their decision. So I'm kind of through that side of it now. I'm kind of trying to push myself to get as an AR. And obviously, the big goal for me after that is to give it another 4 years and go next World Cup based on performance. But it's a tense time for the 15 lads who've just refereed because they're waiting to find out if they're going or not.
Really?
Yeah.
No. Bit of drama. Like I said, I like a bit of drama.
But that's good, isn't it? It drives
Yes.
it's competition. It drives competition within the group, and it'll make us better referees. So.
Again, all these buzzwords we've used, like jeopardy for everyone involved, not just players, teams, but also referees.
I'm not sure many people would know that that it's that rigorous.
I didn't know it was that rigorous. I thought it was just a case of they were just looking at different referees to go to the World Cup and different combinations.
It'll go up to 15 to 12, but maybe those 3 people who are dropped will go as assistants. We just don't know at the moment. So
yeah,
it's that time of year. It's exciting in one way, but it's nerve-wracking in another.